Hello, my people. So we were creating our first Bulla uh, application, and then so after we have set up our local version of the Bulla point of sale system. Now I want to show you how to extend it. Yeah, extending the Bulla POS. So once you have like this list of folders, you have this admin. As I said before, this is the front end, and then this is the back end, the admin. Forget about the rest, we'll use them later on. So once you have this backend up and running, so once you have this backend up and running, and as you can see, let me open it on Edge. So once you're having this project up and running, let me wait for it to start executing. So I want to extend one of the UI. So I want us to do it together so that it becomes much easier for us to fix it. Yeah. Yeah, so basically our APIs, if you want to see the list of APIs, you'll go to APIs and then root and then API. Here you'll find the list of all the various APIs that you're using. So today we want to extend one of the UIs. You just want to create one of the UIs and see how that one goes. Yep. So let's give it some seconds for it to load and then we create that. Yes, so as you can see, it has completed successfully. So trying to load it, you'll see it's refreshing. So this is the screen that you're supposed to see with a list of users. If you can't see these users, just know that the users are not set to be active. So once you log into the system, you need to go to the roles. You just need to go here on administration and then roles. And then, no, go to users. And then pick all these users that you're having and set them as active. So you need to edit here and put them as active, yes, for all the users. So from there, you could be able to view them there. To see how your users have been created before you can know the login to use, you can just navigate to your user seeder, user table seeder, that one. So you'll see a number of users that I've just created in here. So out of that, you'll find the users that you want to log in with. That is if you're using the local version. Also notice that if right now I inspect this to just check and see whichever kind of, to just confirm which user I'm logged in as. So if I refresh this and then I go into, wait for it to load, you'll find I can see on these APIs and I click on fetch and then I tap on one of the APIs, you can read where your API is reading from. So this one should not be reading from a client, so it should be localhost. So what I just need to do is log out and then I'll go to my env on the admin on the front end, that is on this admin folder. Just find this .env here. So out of this, edit this the way I instructed on the previous tutorial. So you can just use this for local. Then remove this if your app is not under apps folder. So mine is under apps folder. So but for you, you can remove this respectively and then rerun this app. For it to pick the environmental file configuration, you need to run that again. So after running it, that's when now we'll be able to like see it on a local version. This is where you'll pick your users. Just go to the user seeder. Just go to your user table seeder and then pick here is when this is the place that you could be able to see the users plus their passwords. Yeah, could be able to see the users plus their password. This is customer table user. That's why I'm wondering. I need user table seed, not customer. Yeah. So this is where you'll see your users, and then you can pick their passwords, or you can change in whichever way. Then after that, you can now, after you run your migration on your API, you just artisan migrate fresh, and then run the seed. So this one will migrate and give you the database itself. So let me try running it. So the base table, blah, blah, blah. This error that I'm getting is because the Laravel can't find my table. So I'll just try run the migration again. You see that error on this one. Now it's trying to load my database, but I'm not finding the database. So in case of that, just run this command on your API. Make sure you're under your API folder. That's where you need to run that command. So it will generate the tables for you. In case you face any error, don't hesitate to reach out. Then once that's there, we can now try it again and see. If it runs successfully, then you're good to go. Yeah, so there's no any other error here. So you can close these out and then see there's no users here. So if I set them as active, they'll appear. But for now, because I know this is Nami Samson, I just use that as my password, and then I use 1, 2, 3. Then I'll be able to log in successfully. Yeah. So knowing that password from the env, you can automatically log in. Now, into our task for today, we want to extend a UI on this product. So for my case, I'll want to create one UI here called inventory location. So I have inventory items here, but I want to create inventory. There's an inventory warehouse and inventory location. I can create the two for us. So let me start from inventory location. So when you tap on this, there's nothing. There's an empty page. That means on our app, if you go to our app, let me now close this. So we are just concentrating on this one app, which is now the front end. So we are only dealing with admin. We are not dealing with these other files. So under admin here on source, you'll find there are these views. But before then, under routers, there's the index.root. So in here, in this router, you'll find that this link that you're having here, which is not found, you won't find it here. You won't find it if you Control F and try to find it's not here. So let's start from creating the root. So you can just copy one of the UIs that we want to create a sample to. So maybe let me just find one of the UIs that I can copy from. Let me select menu. Let's say menu item size. Yeah, this is a nice UI. So let me create from menu item size. So I can find this. I can go to this and find menu item size. So this is the UI. So I can copy and paste this root to create just another similar root. So this is the root that I want it to be. But now what I want it to be, I want it to be this inventory location. So I want it to be inventory location dot index. Notice that this one, it was a previous had a previous app. That's why I called this API as this. But maybe in future we might change it, or you might change it if you want it to be. But for now, no reasons for that. Let's just use what we have in. But we can change it if you want. So if you want to change this, you can change it under modules. You can just go to modules and update it. But for now, I wouldn't advise you to do that. So you copy this root that you want to create and then come here, give it the root name. The root path should be that, and then give it a different name. Call it maybe inventory location.index. I like calling it the same name. For the component, for now, because we don't have a new component, let it just display the same component as menu item size. So save this. Once you save this, the view app will reload. And then once we come on to the view, you can now refresh and view. You can now see that file. So if this one completes successfully, yeah, so So that's successful. So when you come back here, you'll find already we have now, our root now is not empty. So we have something here. So yes, we have something, but it's not really related to this because we just copied the component from the menu item sizes. So let's edit this. So let me start from editing now, this creating a new component because now we can't share the component. So what you do, just find this, copy, you can control D and then control C and then find, control F, you'll find where I've imported it. So how you do it is just copy this and paste it down here. And then you say now, this one, what do you want to call your, what do you want to call your component? I'll call it inventory, inventory location, right? Inventory location view. So after knowing what I'll call it now, I can say the same. I'll call my component inventory location view. But now notice that this one, it will bring an error because we haven't created this component. So what I just like to do is copying this. So I'll copy this, Control P, and then paste. I'll find this item, and then I'll come back here and copy this name. So what I'll just do when I'm in here, I'll just say Control Shift S to save as. So if I just press Control Shift S to save as, it will tell me save it as what. Then I'll paste that name, location inventory view. So I'll save it in the same direction. That error will be gone, and now I have a component to view from. Yeah? I have a component to view from. So out of here, now I have this. So this is the component that you are currently viewing in here. So I'll try find this and change it so that you can see. So I'll just find this menu item and I'll change this to maybe inventory location, for example. So once I change that, you'll find that this name here will update automatically based on that. So if you refresh this app, it should give us a different name. Menu item size, probably there's a problem somewhere. Let me just confirm this is inventory location view. Then let's go here. Oh, so here, as you can see, this one is grayed out because we haven't used it. So I just need to find where we have the inventory location and update that. So I'll go to inventory location, the one that we just created. Inventory location. So I'll need to update this, call it inventory location. So after that, you'll find that now my UI will change, and now I'm working on the exact inventory location UI. So I'll just update some couple of stuff and say maybe this one, manage all available inventory locations. That's it for the first part. So you'll notice that from my app, I'm just updating the CRUD. The CRUD only is what I'm adding on to that. So I only have this CRUD in here created. So if I remove this CRUD, you'll see what happens. So it will just leave you with an empty skeleton of the app, yeah, without this inner part. So that means the inner part is where now this component starts from. So later on you can read about layouts, because now on this, when I'm creating this route, I'm using a layout here. So read about view layout and then try to find out how I created this layout, because now this one is coming from, I have my layouts here created. So it's coming from this main layout. So I have a main layout, default and blank. So you'll find that for this main layout, I have already integrated the nav drawer. That is this nav drawer here, this one, which is going on and off. And then also I've integrated my app bar inside content. So that is this app bar on top here. And then I have also have a footer. So this is the footer down here. So that's why the only part that you're editing is this one only, the content of the component, because I used the layouts. So that's why we are editing this component in here. So we are done with the root. You can close that root file, the index.js for the roots. And then now we are working on this. So this one, there's a quirk thing I did here, but we need to correct it. So you'll find that this is this is I was creating model for each record that I'm creating, but this one I found it was just my mistake. So this one is not supposed to be this. We'll change it on this tutorial. But now let's look into the app itself. So this is the header part for the app. You can see up to here. This is the header part where we're having our header. This is where we are having an bulk action. But now notice that this one I'm not displaying it because display is none here. So I'm not displaying it. If I remove that display none, now you'll be able to see those action buttons here. Now you can see them. They're here. Apply what bulk action. But I didn't like it, though I didn't want to delete it. But for now, what we can just do, I can do away with them because I don't need them as at now. So you can do away with them. That part, you can remove that. Then now we are on to our search. So this search value and whatever, leave it as the way it is, because this one later on will create search APIs for this, because this one, yes, will work for this table, for this data table, if you try to search it. But now I don't want, or maybe you can use it. You can use the data table for now because these are just some small number of records. So you can just use that, no problem. But later on, we need to change it. So for now, let's just go on into it. So this is where the search input is. We'll make it function. And then this, we have the new category. So this is where we are having this button for new category. So you can just even say new, because now we know if you are under inventory location, you can just create a new record in here. So there's no need of repeating ourselves. And then from there, now we are done with this header part. You can wrap it up. We are done with that header part. So this is where now we are having our table. So this is where now we are having our table. And notice that we have two tables here, because I was trying to do something on night vision, in that if you tap on night vision, your table adjusts based on the vision that you are at. But this one will do it later. So for now, let's remain with only one table. So what we can just do, instead, because I'm using easy data table to display this, so you can find if this theme is dark, this is the one for the dark mode. So for now, I'll just do away with this to avoid a lot of confusion. Later on, we'll do it. And so because we have a conditional if, we have a conditional parameter here, if this one is dark, display this one, else, display this. So I'll just do away with this else, and I do away with if. And then I remain with only one table to deal with. So I have only one problem to deal with, which is this easy data table. So if I save that, you'll find that nothing will have happened. I'll still have the same UI, because now what I just removed is for the night vision. From there now, if this data table, now we need to edit it. How it works is, this data table, there are parameters you need to pass it. You need to pass it some headers, and then you pass your records here. And then this is for the search field, and then this is also, all of this is for the search. And then if you want your table to be showing that loader icon before it loads your data, this is where now you have this loader icon. And then you can format it according to how you want inside the v slot. So this is one of the slots you create inside the table for the template. So also you can read about the view slots to just understand how slots work. So like this one, these are slots, just create a slot. But don't worry, we'll create one with all those. So our concentration now is on this. We need to know how the headers display and how the resources. So these two are our focus for now. So let's go. Let's find this header. So you can see that's the HTML, the template part that we're having. This is our CRUD footer or whatever, but we are not using it as at now. You can see our CRUD footer doesn't have any other record. And then this is for the model. So assume this for now because we'll update it. Also, this add model will update it. This add model basically is what shows, because now you see this add model is whatever shows when you click on this add folder. This is the add model. So we'll edit it. But let's first start from displaying this data. So let's go there. So first, let's go to find where the headers are. So after the template, we have the script, the way Vue highlights its component. We have in Vue tables and styles. So here we are starting now our scripts. So I have a number of scripts here, whatever does the validations, blah, 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 all those stuffs. But now where I want you to focus on is on the data. So on data, we have something called the resources. So this is the resources, the data that I've defined to enter the data inside here. And then once I save that variable with data, once I populate this is what I'm showing on the easy data table, right? So that's it. For the headers also, I needed to define them here. So like you see our headers here, this is what now displays on our table here: name, translate name, action. For example, we can just say name. Instead of translated name, we say this is description, for example. If I change that, that's what will now appear under this name. You'll just have this one changed. So that's it. So let's start now from there. Where do we start? We start from the API. So these are the returned data. On creation of this, remove this reload, remove these stuff which we don't need, these ones, these functions which are commented out, we don't need them. Also for the watchers, this one is basically, it was trying to update the table whenever a data is updated. However, I don't think it's working as that now. Let's try and see. I think it works. After we add a new item, this one will now try to watch. So read about watchers also. So this will watch if resources data has changed. So if anything has changed in here, it will try to update this key. But we need to do a deep search in here. So there's a way we do watchers. I'll just do a small tutorials on watchers so that you can understand that one. Remind me so that I do it in my later tutorials, just to discuss about watchers so that you can know how to use it. And then from there we have these computed properties. We have these computed properties. So inside here, these computed properties, you find we having the loading and the theme. Forget about this. These are just my parameters that I use to check if there's loading and whatever. And here I'm using VueJS, so don't worry much about that. Also, I'll do another tutorial on VueJS, a complete one. Let me know in the comment if you really need it, if you really need to see how that one works. So my focus is now on methods. So these are the methods. But now what we run from this hook of created. After the project is created, we are running this function called get data. So let's find it. So let's find where get data is. So here it is. So we're having this function called get data. Let me pull it to the first, to be the first method. So let me go to methods. Let it be the first here, the first method. So you'll find there's this first method which is running for get data. We are getting from menu item services, we are getting this data. So let's first here console log this data to just see what you're getting back. So to just see what you're getting back. So I'll just say, I can just say response. I'll just create a group so that it's easy to see. And then I'll go to inspect my app. So once I inspect this, I try on console. So once I run this again, you'll find that on console, you'll find that I'll be able to see the app now is mounting, after it's creating, and then it mounts. So on creation, this one has run. Forget about the first error. So we're having this response. We have created a group. So there's response, and then we have this data display. So this is where we are having our data. If I say here response.data.data, response.data, for example, you'll see it changing. You'll see that response of ours changing. Let's wait for it to run. So you'll see it's now going to the data itself. So inside data, we have the code. If it's 200, do blah, blah, blah. If it's not 200, display an error message. So that's what this function does. So this one checks if the response.data is 200, it means we have a correct data. So even here you can display and say, if this one is true, give me an alert saying successfully pulled. But now this one alert needs to be alert.success or info or danger. So this alert also, mine is a toast. Yeah. So I'll just use a toast. So this is a plugin that I've used in here. You'll see it on import. I've imported toast from Vue 3 Toastify. So if I run that, you'll see that once this one completes, you'll see this message here, successfully pulled, because that data went to code 200. I just wanted to show you that example in there so that you can see how now we are displaying those messages. So that's it. So this is the data that you're finding. And then that data, we map it into the resources. And then if we have an error, we set the data as empty array, but this one is not a must. You can have it or ignore it. You can just display your error, fix your error, and then get the stuff up. And then notice this one now I'm using a VueJS store. So I'm storing a data. So I'm using VueJS to store some the loading status. So that's why I'm having here an action that set this loading to either true or false based on the status of the app. So when data is being fetched, it will load true. It will set loading to true. That's why you can see a spinner here. So this spinner, it means the loading is true. This one also, when you're in Google Chrome, you can learn how to use the dev tools, on Vue. So in there, you'll find we can inspect and see whichever data we are having or whichever state, or our data in whichever state and how they're changing their states. Also for that one, let me know if you need a tutorial on that. I'll do it for you. From there, now we are having that. So that one is done. From there, we can go to the next one. Where are we? Yeah, so this one is just for setting the loading true or false. So if our data is fetched, set loading to false. Also, if we get an error, just log the error and then give us set the status to wrong. Now, this is where now our work starts. We have now this data, yes, but now we don't want to pull from this. There's this service, so you can control and click to view where this service is. You can see it's a menu item service, and this is a function in it. So this one, I've imported it. So if I find this, you'll find I've imported a menu item service from menu item size service controller. So this one, I have services to be pulling the APIs. They're inside here. So you'll find I have my services here. You'll find all these are services to be doing the API calls. Yeah. So I just put them in one folder to make sure I'm very much organized. So I'll find this one service called menu item size. Menu item size. So I can go here and find menu item size. Menu item size is here. Menu item size service. So it's here, and then the index function is here. So when I run this function, the first thing that it does, it goes to this service and then try to run this function. So this is using Axios to do that API call. So it will just call this API size, and then using the headers which are already set. This one I have a setter out header setting. You can inspect it and check what it has. It will set the token, whatever, all those headers that we want. And then it will call this API using my view base URL. So this base URL is what we are having on our env. So this is what you're having here, base URL. So it's calling from there, and then picks and calls an API from here. Now this is not what we want. For now, we want to load inventory locations. So let's confirm if that API already exists. So I'll go to my web.api root and find menu item location, inventory item location. Is it really there? Nothing. Inventory location. So inventory location is not there on our APIs. Let me see if I have a controller. Location, no, there's no inventory location controller. So I'll need to create those two things. But let me start from here, inventory locations. So we are having our inventory location table. We are having all our inventory location model set up. So the table and the model is there. So I just need to create a controller on the same, okay? So I'll just confirm there's no controller again. Inventory location controller. Yeah, there's no such controller. So what I'll just do, I'll just come here onto my application. If the API exists, well and good. If it doesn't, I want to show you if it doesn't, what you need to do. So you just need to run here PHP artisan, make controller, and then call it inventory location controller with camel case, then make it as a resource controller. That's it. So once you have made this, copy that and then find it, controller. So you'll find it here. So this is the controller that I've just created. And then there's nothing like a lot of work to be done here. You just go to the APIs. You now first create your API. Let's go somewhere to menu group, just somewhere inside here. You want to create an API for inventory location. So you just copy one of them, I've mostly copied these with API resource, yeah? That is because it's a resource controller. I think I explained that in a previous tutorial on Laravel. Then, so just say this one will be inventory. The root will be inventory, inventory location, and then this one will be inventory location. But before this, you just remove that, add that R, and then wait for it to auto detect. Yeah, inventory. What did I call these? Inventory locations. Supposed to be inventory. Let me just make it inventory location controller as a resource controller. Item group also, it can't create a controller if there's an error on this route. So just to comment that out, then create this controller. Let me now find it. Then I'll have to delete the previous one. So once you just open this file and open your Explorer, you can just locate the other one in here. So it's much easier to locate it that way. So I remain with only this inventory controller. So that's what I want to call in here. So I'll just say, I'll uncomment this and just say I want to call this controller here. Yeah, so it's supposed to give it some time for it to load that controller, then just import automatically. So that one will import for you this controller. On top here, you see we have this importation in here. So just go into that and then say class. This was introduced on Laravel 8 plus. So that's it. So in here we have now our APIs created. Now if we load these inventory.locations, we are supposed to see those API. However, on this inventory location, we haven't coded anything in here. So one thing I need to include is you can now easily copy from whichever an existing. You can just copy from an existing API here. Just pick one API, copy whatever we are having, but not this one. Need the one with the out. Yeah, so you can just pick from this, but no problem. Let me find one which has like the user control. I think this one must have, yeah, the one with the constructor. Yes. So just pick this for API resource. Just say use this. Then you need to import this. Import it as that, and then come here, pick this constructor, so that on the initial load we can just automatically load this auth API to be checking the token. If the token is not there, just check it. This one, for you can exempt some routes, but for now I don't have any route to exempt, so leave it as that. And then on index we can now start coding it. So for index, display all this one, like the users are just like copying it that way, pasting it here, and then editing this. Like I can say now data, this is not this one, this is inventory location. So I'll just say inventory location. I'll pick that from the model, so that will automatically import inventory location model. Then order by blah 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 is not a mark. I can just even say just load all of this. Don't order or do anything like that. And then out of here, this is my data. Don't use any resource formatter. So also API resource, I'll need to make a tutorial on it later on so that you see how we create those resources. But for now, I'll skip it. Let me know in the comment if you want that tutorial. And then this one now is supposed to be data. And then this one you just say locations found. That's as easy as that. We have created our first API. So now if we try to load this API, we can find it. Let's now go back. This is our first API for index. Let's first display that. So it will be called inventory location. So let's see. So inside here, we were having a service. This service was called menu item service. But do we have inventory location service? Let's look. We don't have any inventory service location in here. So what I'll just do, I'll save this one as, and then I'll edit. So I'll just say inventory location service, inventory location dot service, inventory location dot service dot javascript, And then inside here now, a couple of things I'll need to make, like this one, the class name, I'll just call it inventory location service. And the same now will happen to this below here, the export, the default export. And then this one, I'll just use the same route that I have here. I'll copy this. Then you can even find and replace. Just find this menu item size. You just find it, and then you replace with your new replace all. That's it. We have created now a service to handle. So this one will handle it will call the index API, the get. This one will do the store. This one will do so. The rest of the things are done. So this is automatically. You close that. You're done with that. Also, probably you're done with that API. Now we are here. So in here, we now don't need to call this menu item service, but rather inventory location service. So you can just find this and then replace it with inventory location service. Make sure your name is very okay. Then just replace all. Yeah, just replace all. That will make sure now this one, when you click on this, it will take you to inventory service. And then, but now this one is going to menu item size. There's a problem somewhere. Let's see the way we have imported it. So just find it, import this one. Yeah, so you need to change in here and call it inventory location dot service. So that one automatically, if we go in here and try to click this, it should take us to inventory service location. That's how to validate if it's correct. Now this one I'll need to change it because we can't use that name, that wrong typo. So it is inventory, not T, but inventory location. So that's okay. Let's go to the API also and change, call it the right name, inventory. That's okay. So we are done with that. So that's it. So let's now try to load our page and see. So once you load your page in here, you can now see these. You can see these. Let's wait a minute to see. And now when you see this, now it will try to load from inventory location. Let me just show you this. So this data is different now. So it's showing us the default location. And how is it loading it? Let's go to network and see. So on the network inventory location, now it's loading from our API, inventory location API, our first API that we created. And that's why we are able to see this. Now, the challenge is the data that we are having. If we preview it, we don't have some fields. We just have the name, sort order, visible, and warehouse ID. Yeah. So even this one, you can display the warehouse itself. Yeah, the warehouse name. How to do that? You can just go to inventory location and maybe say inventory location, and then inside the model itself you say I want this warehouse also to be visible. So you just go to inventory location, and then here you can add with display all that with, you wrap in within it, you wrap it with warehouses. But now this one now needs to change to get. So after that, if I try to reload it, you'll find that it will now load plus the warehouse. So we have managed to display the data. That's the first read. Yeah? So as we continue to the rest, so I'll do just read and new. And then from there, the rest can be done. So you can see here, we can preview it, and you'll see we have the inventory location, and now we have the warehouse. So we can pull even the warehouse name if we want. So let's display that one here. So we just say name, sort order, and then if it's visible, yes or no, and then we give it the warehouse name. So let's do that. So you just go here and say on the headers that we are having, on the headers, remember the headers that I told you about. So you just go in here on the headers and just say this one is the name, and then we have the sort order. Yeah, the sort order. Sort order. Now this one you give it the exact name. For example, there it was sort order. Name was name, ID was ID, and then we have the warehouse. Now for the warehouse, we need to give it the warehouse name, so it is warehouse. But now notice that warehouse is not just within warehouse. You'll notice that within warehouse we have the warehouse name in here, the name inside. So this warehouse, this is where now the slots will help us. So you just save this as warehouse, the name, call it warehouse, But then when we go to the headers itself, let me first show you how it's displaying. Right now it's this way. So it will just show you name, sort order, and then warehouse. So these two, we can format them using now our slots. So just find that easy data table in here, easy data table, then come to these slots here. So the first slot is for the name, leave it that way. Go to create a second one, which is for the warehouse. So we'll say item.warehouse. I've copy pasted it. Item.warehouse. So I want this warehouse in here, item.warehouse, to display that name, and I can say I want it to be in camel case, uppercase, but for now I can just leave it as that. So this one will pick a division, put this margin, blah blah blah. So I'm formatting that field and I'm giving it warehouse name. So if I load it, you see the warehouse name. Even you can give it a different class if you want. You can say maybe this text you want it to be primary, right? You want it to be blue in color, for example, if you're using Bootstrap. If you load that, you'll see this one now will be edited to blue in color. The sort order, let's do sort order. For the sort order, we want it, if it's, let's say sort order, I've just created a new one. So I just want, if for the sort order, if the sort order is true, so if the sort order, is 1, yeah? Sort order is equals and is equals to 1. So if that one is 1, just display yes. If it's not, just display no. Or maybe even you can create a very nice button there to show if it's not not sort order. This one's supposed to be for the, not for the sort order, but for active, yeah? Active. It was active, so let me just read. It was active, I think, if I'm not wrong. It was called active. For the sort order, we just display it as it is, just as a number. So let's do something here. We want to display, what was it? Was it? Yeah, visible. If it's visible, yeah, so you just say visible here. If visible is equals to 1, say yes, it's visible, else say no. Remove this for the email. So you can format it wherever you want it to be. Then this one you can even say this is a success, or maybe whatever you want it to be. So out of that, this visible, we need to add it on our headers. So let me just go to our headers. I need to add a field here called visible. So I just copy one and then add it here and say this is visible. Yeah? Visible. I just like naming it like that. So that's it. So our first part is there. We have our visible, yes, blah, blah, blah. So we are done with displaying that data. So let's go to creating now the new record. So under new record here, we have this item for new. When you click on new, it shows you the add new size, blah, blah, blah. So let's find that model first. It's called add model. So all of that is called add model. So this is the model that displays. So this add new item, you can say create location. You can name it whatever you want it, but add new location is much easy to understand. So if you tap on this new, it will automatically give you create location. So let's create this location. So this location, we need the location name, we need the order, that's the name. This is for the validation, for the view validation, leave it as it is. And then this one we have translation name. Now here you can call it the order. Yeah, order. It's called what? Sort order. Sort order. You can say this one is sort order. Then remember to change everything on this. Change even this translated name, and you'll need also to change it on the validations, right? So you just need to change all that and even find the one for validations. Validations. Because without that, it will give you some errors. You'll find some errors in here. So you just need this translated name to be changed to sort order. So everywhere there's a translated name, you need to change it to sort order. So that's it. So let's create the second one. The second one is what do you want? We want to maybe set the warehouse and stuff like that. So let's say for now the warehouse by default is 0, assuming we have one warehouse. So I'll just find form data. So in here, I'll just say warehouse. It was called warehouse ID, right? If you check my request here, it's called warehouse ID. So let's find it in a minute. It was called warehouse ID. Let's find it in here. Also, there's a problem here. There's an error. it disappeared after I checked out on it. Forget about this. So I think this error disappeared. Yeah, inventory location. So we are having such a thing here called sort order, and then warehouse ID. So this warehouse ID we also need to format it. Yeah, so this one you can have warehouse ID, and then say this one also is required. Yeah, so that we don't save without a warehouse. Yeah, and then this one will need to display all the warehouses on this field. So out of that, you can say now this warehouse ID is there. So let's find this one error because our elements are not loading. So let's identify where the problem is. So you can reload that, expand it, and see. You can expand it and see. So when you expand that and see, you'll see there's something complaining here about dirty blah blah blah. That means there's one validation here called translated name. So we need also to change this because now we change translated name to sort order. So you just need to find it and then change this to sort order everywhere on the system so that it doesn't give us that error again. So that's it. So once you're done with that, that error should have disappeared. And now let's continue on now formatting this sort order. So if you tap on new, you'll find we have the name here in sort order. Let's remove this small, so you can inspect this to find where it is. You can inspect that to find where it is and maybe remove it or maybe set it the way you want it to be. You can set the inline deflex. The reason you can really find this exact, so you can find that, you can copy that and find it in here. You can just be able to find it quite easily. You can also format it to be nicer the way you want or just remove it. For me right now, I don't need that. Also for the second one, I don't need this. I find it disturbing. So I just remove that. And then once I'm here, if I tap on new, you can, what happened? Oh, I didn't find all of them. So that one is on the edit. So I need also to find it on the create model. So that's why it's complaining that way. So I'll just do that. And then highlight this and then do this. That one will now remove it on the add. Because we have two models here. We have the add model and the update model. So anything we do on add, we need also to change that on the update. So that's it. This is my clean blah blah blah. So optional field, blah 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 blah. That's it. We are making progress. So this is for the active one. This is for the sort order. What else are we remaining with? For the location. So that one, I'll just need to find the select model. I'll just create a select. So what I'll just do in here, when you're having these, I don't know why this optional field doesn't look good on me. So I'll just remove that. On this row also, I'll just remove that so that I can have a very nice display. Yeah, I just want a clean thing. Yeah. So this is the sort order that we're having. So in here after sort order, let me divide it into two, and then here I had a location. So that's what I'll do. So on this sort order, I'll just say this one on small and medium devices, and yeah, just make it 6, and then I'll copy and add another one just on the same row, and then call this one warehouse. Now notice that this warehouse of me, it will be a select, not an input, and then this one will be the warehouse ID. The warehouse ID, that will be my form data. But for now, let's now create this select box. So you can either decide to create one pretty quickly, or even copy from another UI. Yeah? So it's much easier for you to just locate one of the UIs that you're having. And remember also I showed you the theme that we are using. So you can also go back to the theme, pick one and come here and edit, or even just find one out of, let me just find in menu item, we can't lack one. So you just come to menu item, I just click on this. Let me copy this for select group. Yeah, select group, this one is what I want. So I'll just go to menu item, menu item view, menu item view on the admin, then I'll find this field, select group. So this is my select. So I'll just pick this plus the validation itself and just close that, then come here and add it here. So you'll find that if now I try to load, remember that this select field has some differences, like this is group ID, so you need to just change this to match your whatever you're having here, which is what was it, warehouse ID. Yeah? So because we are done with this, we can remove this input because we don't need it now. And then anywhere you see this group ID, you can format it to warehouse ID. Maybe select here, you can say warehouse. That's the quickest fix. Where there's group ID, change it to warehouse ID. And then here, remember, we need to pick these warehouses. So instead of groups, you can just say warehouses. Warehouse, something like that. Yeah? Or warehouse data, or whatever name that you want to call it. But we'll need to define this later on. Yeah? Yeah, so let's come here and say these are the groups. So if we select a group, you can decide to change these, but it's not mandatory. So you can just say this one. When you do that, you can remove this event listener because you don't need it. And then now let's see what appears. Yeah? So let's go back to our page. It was inventory location. Don't forget where we were at. So this is inventory location. Let's now see this. Yeah? So when you open this, you'll see there's these warehouses. Yeah? But it's just loading the warehouse. The one I've just created, this one, it's loading the first, this one, the empty one, yeah, because we have not set anything. So we need to pull all these warehouses and display them here. So that's what we are going to do next. So these warehouses, we need to define it inside data. So you just go to this data and then define these warehouses. Then say it's just an empty array. And then we now need to create a function of getting all the warehouses. So I'll just find one idle function here and try to remove these items that we don't need, group selection. So this is get menu item. I can now even edit this and say this one is get warehouses. Warehouse. So get all warehouse. You can even say get all warehouse or get warehouse, whatever you want to name it. And then this one now won't be inventory location service. It will be warehouse service. But remember, we need to create this warehouse service and the API and everything. This will be called, then we say this should be 200, just the same way we are creating, but now remember we need to create this service. So this warehouse service, let's find if it exists. So I'll just say warehouse service, nothing like that. So we can create a new service and call it warehouse service. Where will we need it? We can use the inventory location service that we had, inventory location service, this one, to create a new. We save as we say warehouse service, right? Yeah, warehouse service. And then here we just rename the class, rename the export. That's warehouse service. The APIs, do we have it? So the API will create it, we'll call it warehouse. So you can create that one for that. Warehouse. Is warehouse written the way I'm writing it really? Warehouse. Let me see. Warehouse. Okay, so I'm writing the correct thing here. So warehouse, so I'll just call this API warehouse, and then I'll go to the backend and create this API pretty fast. So I'll just close that. I'm done with that. So this one will load on the index, and then what we want to display after the code data is 200. We want to say these warehouses is equals to that data. Else blah blah blah, do the rest of the things. That's the class that you want. So for the rest of these stuffs, a lot of them, they are not usable. You can remove whatever you feel that you are free to remove. Let's go. Now these get warehouses, we need to load it immediately the app creates. So we just say here on created, we say this dot load these warehouses. Remember to call it as a function. That's when this one now will be able to run. So let's go and create the API. So I'll just go to my APIs. Where I had inventory location, I'll just copy this and paste, and then call this warehouse, and then I'll just call it warehouse controller. Just call this one warehouse controller, but I need to create the controller here. So I'll just edit this command that I had, and then say And let me expand it a bit so that you can see it. I'll just say warehouse controller. That's it. So I'll create a warehouse controller. So that's it. Also, I'm not sure. So this one will create the warehouse controller. And then that's the same thing you need to update here and say, and say, let me undo. Yeah, so warehouse, just call it warehouse controller. And then I'll call that class, right? So that's it. So I need to go into here and then create those, load all the controllers here. So remember the same thing we did on, but now we don't have a warehouse model. Let me confirm. Warehouse.php. Nothing like that. Warehouse.php. Inventory warehouse. Yeah, we are having it. Inventory warehouse. Guys, let me confirm if we have inventory warehouse controller. Could be very funny if we created, yeah, so we don't have it. So we just use this one, inventory warehouse. So this is the name of the ones that gets that default warehouse. So we are okay. We haven't reinvented something. So we just have that here as the model. That's the model that we'll be calling. But let me now pick all my classes that I had from the previous. So I'll just remove that. So I'll just have this one here created. API resource, I'll have to import it. This is the constructor, and then on warehouse, I'll just copy this function and edit it to match the request that I want. So for now, I'm just creating the API that I need. I don't create all the APIs that I don't need. So inventory warehouse, I need to import this also, and then say this inventory warehouse doesn't have a lot of complications, so it's just to display all of it. So I'll just say this one dot all. So that will return this one, and then here I can say warehouse found, something like that. So if that API runs right now, it will give us some data on that. So I've quickly created that API, and then so in here, if I reload this, then I go to inspect, I should be able to see those two APIs running, and then I should be able to see those data being displayed there. So let's run it and see. So once I run this, should be able to see that. Just a minute. There's an error somewhere. There's a big bug somewhere. Probably because we didn't import that class. I'm just guessing my errors before I can just debug and look funny. So warehouse, we haven't called it. So I need to call this service here. So automatically I'll know that error is because of this service. So I'll copy paste that line, and then I'll edit it according to what I want. So this will be warehouse service. Yep. So if I tap on this one to see if you created it, you need to like try and control and click to see if you imported the correct thing. Yeah, so for mine, I think there's a problem. So that one worked. Yeah. So I need to call this index. So that one should be working. So let me now try reload this page. Then I go to network, try and see if it runs my API. So right now it's running. Yeah, so it ran my restaurant, blah blah blah. Yeah, it also ran this. So for inventory locations, this is what I'm having. For inventory location, I only have one default location, and for sure that's what we are having on our database, and even this one is set to this. So we are having this is inventory location, and then we have our warehouses here. So this one we are having one warehouse called the main warehouse, which is visible. That's perfect. So let's go to this main warehouse now and see if it displayed on this ad. Yeah, so let's perfect. So it entered there very perfectly. But now we need to initialize these. We need to initialize so that at least on the first one appears as select warehouse, and then the second one is this. So let's do that. So I'll say in warehouses, I'll just find that, and then say this one should be select warehouse, and then after I select warehouse, now I need to set this warehouse ID initially. So I'll just find the form data, the initial form data, and then I'll say warehouse ID. So find it in data in here, and then I'll say visible active. We don't have anything like this one. We don't have just have here name. Yeah, for our location we have the name, visible, then we have the location ID. So this one I set it as empty, so that when I come here and I load these and then I open on new, initially it will be an empty field. Yeah? So that's what I want to see here. So it will just be an empty field. Let me see in a second. So it will just be an empty field. That means it will go to select warehouse, and then the second one will be main warehouse. That's it. Up to there. Let me change this active to be visible, because we are using visible is true. So let me find it. So I'll just find that active question mark thing, yeah? And then say this is visible. Perfect. That's it. So it is resources.visible. Let me find the other one. Visible, yeah, that's true. So that's okay. So let's try save this data now. So we have this sort order. We have this name and sort order. What other thing we had in here? Visible, yes, true. So this sort order is really disturbing us because it has appeared twice. So let's just do this. Let's remove this first one, put this name as a complete word, and then this sort order becomes the lower one. Then that will work for us now, because inventory location, you don't have any description for that. Warehouse ID sort order, you don't have a description. So you could, if we could have it, we could use it. But now because we don't have that, we can just assume that and say now we are having the name. This name we can set it to occupy the entire space. So you can just say this name, let it pick 12. That's bootstrap. So just understand that a bit. That one can pick 12, and then this sort order you can remove it from here. This sort order you can remove it from here, then replace the one below. You can have this sort order, so you can replace this. Yeah? You can replace this. So we'll be having something like this. So we'll be having something like, when you tap on inventory, you're having something like this. So this is full width, then this is 6, and this is 6. So that's it. So when we save here, even let me remove this save size. Why do we say save size? Just say save. Then that one, that will go to save resources. Let's find it. So save resources is a function within this. This function now will take a name. Now this is validations. You can check on view validate to learn about how I did these validations. So in here it will check for the name. Also we want it to validate the warehouse ID if it's true. So if this one is invalid, it will return. If this one is valid, it will continue with our process. So in here on inventory location, now this one, because we find and replaced this, so it will just go and try to find this location. So let's make this API, because we currently don't have that API. Yeah. So I'll go to inventory. Even if we try right now to save, you'll find that we don't have that API. So let me just try to save one. Then I inspect. So I just find one here. So let me just try out. So I'll just go here, just load this. And then I'll find one. So I'll try to create one. I say this one is a test. The sort order is blah blah blah. Then this sort order, why did you say another name? Let's find that another name. So EG, this one should be EG 1 2 3 4 5. Yeah? I'll give them an example. Yes. So when I go here, I just tap on new and say, then I say test. This one didn't refresh. Let's wait for it. So out of that, you can see this is a test, and then the order is 1 2 3. For example, 0. The warehouse is this one. It's active, so this one is to toggle active or inactive. But leave it as that. We'll work on it. Then when I try to save, let's see what happens. Yeah? So when I try to save, it tries to go to save this data. Where is it saving it? It's supposed to run something in here. Probably it doesn't run, so maybe it's trying to give me some error messages. This one is undefined. So inventory line 634, let's see that. Oh, so it's trying to load this data. So there's a problem, there's an error which is not loading. So let me find it. So this error, there's an error, and probably this error is because it's on the save. On the save, there's an error when it tries to save to store this, and probably this error is because if I console log, this response that I'm getting in here, this is how you can see it very well. So if I try it, let it load first, and then I go to console, just clear everything, and then I'll try again. And then I try again. So in here, if I say on add, and then I say that's blah blah blah, you'll find that this API is not there, so it won't create. So it will give me some funny error. So you see, our error is error config data translation blah blah blah. If I go in here, so you find status 200, status header transform, config data header control, blah blah blah. But basically, this one, it didn't find any API with that name. Didn't find anything like to update with that name. And at the same time, we haven't checked if so the error code that I'm receiving here is not understandable. Probably is falling into this error without the right error. So let's see this store if it's there. So in this store, we find that there's nothing returned because we don't have this API. We have the API, but the API returns nothing. So I'll go to the API, the inventory location controller. Remember that controller that we created? We only created one function here. This is to for the index function. So these comments, you can leave it or delete it depending on how you want. This create, we are not using it as it now. So where we want it is this store. Remember my previous Laravel tutorial, lesson 1, you can check on how a resource controller is supposed to be. So in here, you want to create this. So I'll just copy it from, let me pick user controller. I like it because it's the most recent one that I did. So then let's just copy this store, then try to edit it on here. So you can do for store and you can do also for delete. So just remove this. You can do for edit. That one will do after we do the create because it's much easier. Or also you can just copy it and then try to edit it. So you can just find one which has the update here, pick it and update. Remove this edit, we'll not be using it. We'll be using update. So you can update this, and then you can also pick for the delete here. You can pick for the delete so that we are done with that controller for good. So you'll not be needing anything to copy from there because these three will do them. So the index one will view all the files. So in here, there's things that we need, like the name, we need it, the warehouse ID, the warehouse. This is validation. So read about validation, view Laravel form validation. It's there on my tutorials, but if you want me to create any other, you can tell me to create. So we don't need any encryption of the password. Then we want to create our inventory locations. We want to create an inventory location with all this data that we find from our request. Then this one will just say this is the data. Then this data will return we don't need this. This is, I think I coded it a long time ago. So this one will return this for us after creating. Then that's what we want to display here and say location created. Location created. We are done with the create API. Let's go to update. The same will appear. So just copy this inventory location, put it here, find or fail. Now this ID, for us, this ID will be passed from the front end. So that's what we need. So you just need to pick this ID and then say this is the data or the location. So this data is equals to this one. Remove all this. We don't need this step. So this data, you will find that this data is equals to, we update this data with whatever we're getting from our request. Now this request also, we can do this validation on the same and say this one is this one. Now remember to remove this. This is not an email, so this one will limit our update. So that's it. So after there, we update this data, and then this data we need to return it and then say location updated. Same to delete. This is how quickly you can create this API. The better thing, the goodness about Laravel and then just say location deleted. So you just find this location and delete it. That's it. We have created like 5 APIs. We are done with that. So that's it. Let's go back and try to create this API to use now that API. So I'll reload my page and then I'll try to push that API. So once we do the add, you can now do the edit. I'll just show you one thing that we need to change. So in here, I'll just say trial, and then excuse me, and then I save this. So if I save this, something needs to happen, but it's not happening. Why? Probably because we have one of our validations failing for some reason. Failed to 422. 422. There's a problem somewhere. Unprocessed entity inventory location. This is what? Inventory location. Why do you have this? Now probably this stuff is displaying for me some different, because I'm supposed to see it here. Probably I'll switch to what I'm used to. So I'll switch to Chrome, then try that in here. Now let me just switch to Chrome. It's much easier. Because now what I want to see, I'm not seeing it. There are a lot of things I need to see, so let's just I think I've loaded a lot of apps using the same port multiple times, so I'll just try that out, and then I'll go to inventory location. I'll go to console here, and then I go to inventory location. So this is our page. You can see these are the bugs. You can see these are the APIs. Now let's try create a new one. Just say tests, and then we give it some value, and then try to save. So there's a problem. This is invalid. So the warehouse is invalid. We add the warehouse. The location is. So it's trying to access this API with this payload, and then it's going to this, and then the response that you're getting, this given data is invalid. Warehouse ID must be a string. So we need to change that because a warehouse ID is not a string. So you need to go to inventory location controller, and then find these validations. So this one is warehouse ID. It's not a string, it's an integer, right? So change that to an integer if you're doing with me, and then try it again. So let's try. We must create this one just now. So when I try to save it again successfully, so location created, this is what now we are getting. This location was created successful, blah blah blah, and now it should be able to load our location in here. So you can see I just created a test location. So we are done with create. So to toggle this active and inactive, you can just find it. You can just find where there's this active question mark, and then this one. So toggle active and active. So this is visible. Let me find it. So this one, you see there's a problem here. We called it active, yet it's visible. So you need to change this one to visible and visible. And also you can put this in your validation whereby someone needs to select that and say if it's visible or it's not. And then ensure that this data of viewers is given, that form data is given this visible. So let's create one more. So you can say this one is load it again. And then create new, and then say test visibility. So this one you can either uncheck or uncheck. This one will be invisible, this one will be visible, and then you say blah blah blah. Let's put it as invisible, and then you save. So you'll find it like this one, visibility is no, the others are true, and then but by default should be true, should be 1. That's why I've set it in here on form data. I've set it as visible is equals to 1. You see, so you can set it this one 0 if you want it by default to be displaying 0. That's it. Let's do delete, and then we do update. But before then, first we can just do delete. Delete is much simple. It's just this one, action button delete. So where action button is, you can find that easy data table, the easy data table that we had. Under this, you'll find the actions down here. You find these actions here. these actions here from these. So this in here you'll find this delete and update button. But before we work on update, let me do this delete. So this is the link for update. This is for delete. So this one automatically picks that item and try to run this delete. So I'll just find this delete. Delete. So delete passes this item. Are you sure you want to delete? There's a confirmation here. If the confirmation is true, then go and delete. So use this inventory and delete. This one should work. Is just plug and play. This one should work automatically. Let's not try to close this because I saw it has a lot of errors. So after you just delete, just fetch for me all those data. This one, let's just display the response, and then that's it. So that's for the delete. So let's try it out. Let's try deleting one item here. So you just reload this, and then so once we are done with delete, we'll just remain with one thing. So once you delete here, it will ask you for this confirmation. Once you delete, it should delete that, and the record will refresh automatically. So that's it. We have already completed that for delete. Okay. So we are there. We are done with the delete. So let's go to the update one now. So this update, these are simple things that I need to, let me add number 3 so that it becomes much easier. So for this number 3, I've added one here. So what I need to do is I want to now edit. So when I tap on edit, notice that it's picking all those data, but now there are some things that we need to change. One, I need to change how I'm creating this, because on this is, for example, this is for the delete, right? And then we have the one for, let me find it. This is for the delete, and then this is for the update. Now notice there's a difference I made here. I was creating these models, and then I'm adding these item ID at the end of the model. So I'm creating, if we load 1,000 items, we will have 1,000 model onto this UI, which is not very effective. But that one I had reasons to do that because of tension and what I had to deliver in that few times. So you can do away with that, remove that ID where we are calling that ID, and just call this one target. You just say edit model, and then that one will now translate to a lot of changes on our UI. So let me show you which changes I mean. So find edit model. So you'll find in here, this is where now I told you I was creating a division based on the number of resources being created. So I don't need this one now. So a lot of changes will need to happen on this. I'll just remove that first, and then I will remove this, the last one, and then out of here, now you see where I was calling this ID, I'm dynamically generating the ID. So now I don't need to automatically or dynamically generate this ID. I just say go to edit model, and then edit model, this one label. Don't need to auto generate it now. I just want to use the static one. And then now a lot of things will change, because now you don't have that for each loop to load these resources, these ones here. So let me just remove this, what you're not using. And then there was something here which we changed. We said this name should be 100%, and then we put the this one should be 12, and then the next field we put it below this translated name. We didn't call it translated name, we called it sort order. But now before here, this one, now we don't have this resource, so anywhere there's resource, just change it to form data, and then we go as we go. So this placeholder is also, you don't need it now. We can have that model to display. Then this is the name, form data, name, that's okay. And then we come to the next option of field. I said I don't need this, I want it to be clean. And then this sort order now. This sort order, let's see if I replace this sort order, maybe say this sort order in here, just replace with this, and then I say this is sort order, and then this one I don't need this, and then that's it. So that's my row. So I'll have that set up as 6, and then after the 6 I want, this is the last thing that we had. What was it? The warehouse ID, right? So let's just find it. Let's find this warehouse ID in here. Let's just copy the entire stuff in here, and then I go to where I was, edit model. So anywhere you see something like this, clear model, edit model, you just need to remove that, because right now I'm not doing that clearing of the edit model. So let's go to edit model. This is it. So in here, before other actions, we having after that this is translated name, but we want to call it sort order. So after the sort order, we are creating now the next, which is the warehouse ID. So that's it. That one should work automatically. So let's see. Let's see if there's anything here called resources or something like resources, which might either something like this one. You don't need it now. So you just need to say form data into that, and then yeah, that's it. And then toggle whatever. So that resources, you don't need this. Even this one, delete resources. Now we don't need to pass any resource here. You can just say delete resource, and then when you delete a resource, we don't now need this one. So you just pass the form data here. Say this dot form data. That's it. That we have catered for all that problem. So let's reload and see. Let me inspect so that I see in case there's any error on that. So let's see. Yeah, so in here we have nothing to worry about. So let's try edit this. So when we edit this, this is how it displays. So even this delete, I don't need it here. But again, I have the sort order, blah blah blah. Yeah, so this is perfect. But let me first remove this delete here, and there's a lot of these breaks. Yeah? These breaks and this delete button, I don't need them then, because we already have a delete on this drop down, so I don't need it to also appear at the top on the edit model. It will make my work easier, but because of repetition, I don't want it. So once I edit, but now remember, we are not loading any item here, so that's what we want to do. So we'll just create a new function here whenever we are having these so this update also, we don't need to pass this here. Just need to even update size, you just say update, we find this, and then this resource, don't need it. For these ones, we don't need all these conversions, just did it in a way that not very nice. Yeah, so that's it. So you need also, you can do the validation, you can check the form before you try and submit, or maybe handle that validation on the API end. So let's find these options for edit. Yeah? So let's find this edit item. Yeah? Edit item or edit model, something. Yeah, this one. So in here, when I display this model, I also want to handle something. I want to say on click, you edit item, or you just have this function run for me. Yeah? You run this function of edit item for me. So this, I need to create this method. But this one, whenever you're clicking that, also pass me that item. So I want to map that to the form data before I can now be able to see it on the model. So I'll just find the method. Once I find this method, I'll just paste that. I'll say edit item. Then I'll say this is the item or the location. Yeah, the location that I'm getting from that handler. And then once I have it there, I'll just say now this dot form data is equals to the location. So that one will handle that error for me. It will handle everything, so I don't need to worry about any other thing. Let's see. So once I load this and I edit here, you'll find that I can see the different locations based on how now I want them to be. So once I'm done with that, I'll need now to update. Let's try update this one to 000 to see if our update is working. So let's try update. So once we updated successfully, is 0. That's perfect, it's working. Let's call this one 4. Let's call this one 4 and see if the name can update. Yeah, 4 is updating. But now, once I update, I clear this form. Let's see where that one comes from. So resource, update resource, or what? Was it update? Update resource, yes. So let's just find out. Yeah, this is what clears all our data. So you can just do away with that, and our tutorial is done. We already have our CRUD now working. Yeah, we have now our CRUD working. Everything is working as expected, and that marks the end of my tutorial. So in here, you can create an item and say test item. Give it whatever you want it to give it. Add it there successfully, and also you can edit. You can say edit this one, edited location, can say this one is 444, update it that way. It will update that for you. Then you can also delete whatever you want, like these tests, you can delete it. So we have already completed our CRUD tutorial. Something else, did I delete test? Oh, so we had 2 tests. Let me try delete this, just confirm. Let me just try do this. There's a problem somewhere, right? Yeah, sure, there must be a problem somewhere on delete. I've just noticed that. So when I try to delete something, let me see what gets deleted. Yeah. So if I delete this, it's coming as undefined, right? So let's see where that error comes from. So delete. So let me find it. Let me find it from edit item, right? Yeah. So this is for edit. This is for delete. Let me see. So this, once you delete this, it goes to the delete resource. Okay. So this delete this resource doesn't pick this resource. I think I'm just the one who removed it from here. This delete needs to pass me this resource. I think I'm the one who deleted that. I'm the one who caused that error, then that's fine. So I'm the one who introduced that error. So it was just deleting whatever it's thinking about deleting. So let's now see. Delete this test. So let's try delete test. Perfect. So it's working as expected. So you can delete and create the way you want it to be. So thank you guys for joining me in this tutorial. I'm looking forward for your comment, and also tell me if you want to see more further tutorials on this. Let's build this product, and that has been it. Have a good day, and cheers.